Finished building my video karaoke jukebox, and I thought I'd post some videos of how I designed it and built it. I thought people would find it interesting, and if you have any interest in building a jukebox, this information could be helpful to you. First, let me say I'm not a professional YouTuber, nor am I a professional woodworker. I've been doing woodworking as a hobby for a long time, and I have a home workshop with a table saw, bandsaw, router, things of that nature, but don't have any CNC machines or very sophisticated woodworking tools. I grew up in the 50s and 60s, and I always enjoyed these jukeboxes. They were everywhere, coffee shops, diners, and I particularly like the Wurlitzer design, which is the dome top, and that's what I was going for in terms of my design. I wanted to try to stick to the scale of the Wurlitzer jukebox as much as I could. I knew I wanted to put some sort of a vinyl sticker on the front of the jukebox to commemorate the 1950s and American rock and roll. So I sat down and started making some sketches of the things that I wanted to put in. I wanted to have speakers on the inside, but I also wanted to have the capability to have external speakers as well. I went on YouTube, and there are a lot of great designs on YouTube for all kinds of jukeboxes. Most of them I found worked off a Windows system. Many had touchscreens on them. Some worked off Raspberry Pis, and some had various kinds of audio mechanisms in it, such as Bluetooth streaming devices, turntables, and also CD players. I wanted to take mine in a slightly different direction. I wanted to be able to watch YouTube videos on the screen, and I wanted to be able to use it as a karaoke machine. So I sat down and looked at the different options I had available. And I thought for me the best thing would be to put in a computer screen, put in a conventional receiver, and get the video from my cell phone cast over to the screen. And I could do that with a Roku stick. So the electronics of the audio system are basically a 22-inch Philips monitor. It has to be able to accept an HDMI because the Roku comes with an HDMI plug, and it has to have a 3.5 millimeter audio out jack because that will take the sound and carry it to the receiver. In terms of receivers, I had an old Onkyo receiver that I used. You can typically pick these up on Facebook Marketplace or on Craigslist for $30 to $50. I've even seen them offered for free. You want to try to get a receiver that has two sets of speakers it can power. So you can put an outlet on the back of the jukebox, and you can plug external floor-mounted speakers in for better sound quality. Also, the receivers tend to have a lot more audio input, so if you want to run a turntable or run a streaming device directly into one of the ports, you can do that. You can see on the back of the jukebox on the lower right-hand corner, there's a modular plug. It's a male power socket. It's known as an IEC 320. It's similar to what you have on the back of a computer, and it allows you to place a 3-prong plug into here and plug it directly in the wall. It's protected by a 10-amp fuse. You'll also notice there's a ventilation panel on the back. That was kind of an afterthought. I put that in so that the subwoofer sound would come out better on the back. And on the lower left-hand corner, you can see there are two connectors where I can plug my floor-mounted speakers in. And then I have some ventilation fans and a master on-off power switch. Let's take a look inside the back of the jukebox. You can see there are basically two shelves, an upper and lower. The lower shelves has a lot of the electronics attached to the floor with a subwoofer on top of it. The top shelf has the receiver. It looks like there's a lot of wiring going on, but it's actually fairly straightforward. The power comes in, it goes down to a 2-gang box, and then coming off that box is a surge protector strip where pretty much everything is connected. I like having one master power switch because it turns everything on and off with one switch. And you can see there are some ventilation fans in there as well. When I was building it, I put some cutouts on the inside to help with cable management. Let's take a look at the 12-volt power supply. If you look on the bottom shelf of the jukebox, you'll see over to the right-hand side there's a 12-volt power supply. When I was putting in the LEDs, I made sure that I got 12-volt LEDs because the computer fans also run on 12 volts. This allowed me to get one power supply to basically power everything in the jukebox, which was low voltage. To the left of the power supply, you can see there are a couple of distribution blocks. One is ground and the other one is power. And to the left of that is the LED controller. We'll talk more about that when I discuss the LED lighting that I have inside the jukebox. The piece of plywood that you see spanning left to right above the receiver is the support for the 22-inch monitor. The monitor extends forward and rests up against the glass. Coming off the bottom of the monitor is the Roku stick. You can see it in the center of the photo. And then coming down to the right of that is a 3.5mm splitter. It takes the sound that comes out of the computer monitor, and one leg of it goes into a source button on the receiver. The other leg goes up to the karaoke mixer, and then that then comes down. So basically I have three sources going into the receiver. I have the turntable, I have the sound coming directly off the Roku, and then I have the sound coming off the karaoke mixer. I did have a bunch of fans left over from when I built my virtual pinball machine, and I put several inside here because sometimes those receivers can generate some heat. I might have gone a little overboard on the fans, particularly where I put a ventilation panel on the back of the door. But they're quiet and you can't hear them. They don't interfere with the sound at all. Just a word about these old receivers. They're pretty inexpensive to buy. Most of them will accommodate 2 sets of speakers, and they can easily power a nice set of floor speakers, and they have multiple audio inputs. Now, if they have a phono button on the front, that's even better because they're designed to take an old turntable. Mine didn't have that, so I had to pick up a preamp on Amazon to accommodate my turntable. Here's a little overview of what the jukebox looks like illuminated. The area at the top is where I have the karaoke with the microphones and the turntable, and then you can see the computer screen below it with the Roku startup screen, and then the receiver is behind a smoke glass panel. The infrared remote control does work through that panel, so you can sit back in an easy chair and adjust the volume or the other parameters of the receiver. My plan is to post some more videos on the build and break it down into sections. Maybe a couple of videos on building the case and the case goods and veneering it. One on molding the plastics, that was a little complicated. Perhaps one on carving the moldings. And then finally something about hooking up the LEDs to WLED. I hope you'll join me as I post the rest of these videos, and I hope you find it enjoyable. Thank you for watching.